You've probably heard the name, right? Sun Tzu. Maybe you've even got The Art of War sitting on a shelf somewhere.
Uh-huh. It's one of those books.
Exactly. But what really makes it such a timeless classic, it's more than just battlefields in ancient China.
Oh, much more. This text, it gives you insights that go way beyond military strategy. It guides you through conflict, decision-making.
Mastering influence, really, in almost any situation.
That's right. And today, we're doing a deep dive into a really specific version, 11t.txt. It's a unique translation and commentary.
Unique is a good word, because our source isn't just the ancient text. It's got the translator's own, really candid notes.
Yeah, talking about the challenges, the difficulty of bringing ancient Chinese wisdom into, a Latin alphabet e-text.
And they're honest about it, highlighting the loss you get when you paraphrase, admitting to wielding a bludgeon sometimes in criticism.
But always, always providing references meticulously, which is great for us. So, our mission today, we want to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge, maybe some surprising facts from all this material.
We'll look at the history, unpack the core strategies,
And see how Sun Tzu's ancient wisdom can actually be a shortcut to being well-informed about, well, a lot more than just war. Okay, let's get into it.
So maybe start with the translator. Their journey with this text is kind of fascinating in itself.
Right. They apparently started with complete ignorance of Chinese, learned as they went.
Imagine that. It makes paraphrasing, while trying to keep the actual meaning, incredibly tough. They even say every paraphrase represents a loss.
Speaks volumes, doesn't it, about the challenge.
And they were so careful, using a Chinese concordance,
Yeah.
basically a detailed index to transliterate names, even if it made the English, well, a bit harder to read sometimes.
Yeah, and that self-awareness is striking. Admitting the work wasn't quite finished, that they might have softened their tone on review.
But they chose to wield a bludgeon, intentionally.
But the key thing, they gave the source text or a reference for everything, so you can check it yourself. Sort of putting a sword into the hands of future opponents, as they put it.
That's some serious intellectual honesty. You don't always see that.
Definitely not. And speaking of maybe a ruthless approach,
Mhm.
we have to talk about the concubine drill.
Ah, yes. The infamous concubine drill. You can't really discuss Sun Tzu without it.
It's the story everyone knows, right? Illustrates his, let's say, unwavering commitment to discipline.
So the legend goes, King Holu wants to test Sun Tzu's theories. Gives him 180 concubines to drill, like soldiers.
And Sun Tzu, being pragmatic, picks two of the king's absolute favorites to be the company leaders. So first try, he gives the order, right turn.
Yeah, they just burst out laughing. Predictably, maybe.
But Sun Tzu's reaction, this is key, he says, if words of command are not clear and distinct, if orders are not thoroughly understood, then the general is to blame.
He takes the blame. The leader has to be clear. That's lesson 1.
So he explains it again, repeats the order, this time left turn.
Yeah, and more laughter.
Right. But this time, Sun Tzu shifts the blame. But if his orders are clear and the soldiers nevertheless disobey, then it is the fault of their officers.
Ah, okay, so clarity is the general's job. Execution is the officer's responsibility. Accountability moves down the line.
And the consequence, it's drastic.
Understatement. He orders the 2 leaders, the king's favorites, remember beheaded?
The king objects, says he's unable to accept it. It's too much.
But Sun Tzu just carries it out, executes them, puts the next 2 in charge.
And the result?
Instantaneous. The drill resumes. The remaining concubines. They perform with perfect accuracy and precision, not venturing to utter a sound.
Wow. So Sun Tzu tells the king, your soldiers, sire, are now properly drilled, ready for inspection. Bid them go through fire and water. They will not disobey.
It's terrifying, but it shows extreme measures can get immediate compliance.
But the king's reaction is also telling. He says he has no wish to come down and inspect.
Yeah. And Sun Tzu's retort is sharp, cuts right to it. The king is only fond of words and cannot translate them into deeds.
Ooh, that's a burn.
It really is. It gets to Sun Tzu's core idea. Strategy isn't just theory. It needs action, decisive action, not just liking the idea of discipline.
And this incident, real or legend, it works. King Holu sees Sun Tzu, knows his stuff, knows how to handle an army, makes him general.
And this leads to Sun Tzu's actual military wins, defeating the Chu state, marching into their capital, Ying.
Putting fear into other states like Qi and Qin, his fame spreads.
Now, even with this story, And Sima Qian, the great historian, backing up Sun Wu's involvement in campaigns.
Like advising the king in 506 BC to attack Chu by winning over allies first, which led to victory.
Right. Even with that, there's still debate about authenticity.
Yeah, critics like so-called the concubine story utterly preposterous and incredible.
And some argue, well, professional generals didn't really exist back then, not until later. Plus, wouldn't a great general also hold a civil post?
But the counter-arguments are strong, too. Sunzi's 13 chapters seem to have been borrowed quite a bit later on.
Plagiarized, yeah, by significant figures like Wu Qi and other strategists and Huainanzi in major works across different dynasties.
Plus, the style of the text, a freshness and sincerity, acuteness and common sense. It doesn't feel like something cooked up in a study.
It feels genuine, like it came from a real military mind dealing with real problems.
And the legacy continued. His descendant, Sun Pin, born maybe a century later, was also a military genius.
Oh yeah, the story of Sun Pin outsmarting Pang Tuan. Brilliant stuff.
Tell us about that one.
Okay, so Sun Pin is retreating and Pang Tuan is pursuing him. Sun Pin wants to lure him into a trap.
How?
By making his army look like it's dissolving, like soldiers are deserting in droves. He has them light fewer cooking fires each night. First night, maybe 100,000 fires.
Okay.
Next night, 50,000. The night after, just 20,000.
So Pang Tuan thinks Sun Tin's army is collapsing and rushes after them carelessly.
Exactly. He gets overconfident, pushes his troops hard. Sun Pin leads him right into a narrow defile. Perfect ambush spot.
And the final touch.
Sun Pin has the bark stripped off a tree and writes on it, "Under this tree shall Pang Tuan die." Then he sets up archers.
With orders to.
Shoot at any light they see near the tree. So Pang Tuan arrives. It's dark. He strikes a light to read the inscription.
And the arrows fly.
Yep. Pang Tuan is killed, his army thrown into confusion. A chillingly perfect example of deception leading an enemy to their doom.
Wow. Okay, so moving from the man, or the legend, let's dig into the actual philosophy here. It's really not just about brute force, is it?
Not at all. You know, we often think of China, historically, maybe influenced by Lao Tzu or Confucius, as fundamentally peace-loving.
Harmony, balance, that sort of thing.
Right. But the reality, constant conflict. A long line of absolutely brilliant military commanders throughout the dynasties. Po Che, Han Xin, Cao Cao.
Ni Shimin, Li Qing.
Yeah.
Names may be less known in the West, but major figures.
Absolutely. Every bit the equal of European generals. So there's this deep practical history of warfare.
But finding people who openly defended war on principle was rarer?
It seems so. Which makes Sima Qian's view quite unorthodox. He basically gave an apology for war.
How did he justify it?
He defined war as punishment, a legitimate function of government, like judicial trials or executions.
So, military weapons and torture devices have the same goal.
Essentially, yes, in his view. To get rid of wicked people and to give comfort and relief to the good, it's stark.
Almost legalistic.
It is. He even argued, small offenses get flogging, bigger ones get the army, and wholesale decapitation.
Even respected figures like the Duke of Chao and Confucius acknowledged the need for force sometimes.
They did. The Duke chastised barbarians. Confucius used armed force at Chiaku and advised that even during peace talks, you need to have warlike preparations made beforehand.
Be prepared. Even the philosophers knew that.
Right. Which leads us straight into the core principle of the art of war, victory without fighting.
Sun Tzu starts right off, doesn't he? The art of war is of vital importance to the state.
A matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin, sets the stakes incredibly high.
But then comes the twist.
The big one. To fight and conquer in all your battles is not supreme excellence. Supreme excellence consists in breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting.
Okay, so what does that actually mean? For you listening, how does this apply outside of war?
It's about achieving your goals smartly, finding leverage, making the direct, costly fight unnecessary. It's about outthinking, not just overpowering.
He even gives a hierarchy for generals based on this. The best strategy.
Highest form, balk the enemy's plans. Stop them before they even start.
Next best.
Attack the enemy's army in the field. Engage them, but on your terms.
And the worst.
The absolute worst policy. Besiege walled cities.
Why was that so bad?
Think of the resources. 3 months just preparing siege engines and shelters. Another 3 months building ramps or mounds.
And the human cost.
Terrible. He estimates maybe a third of your men are killed, and the city still isn't taken. It's ruinous. The source mentions Port Arthur in 1904 as a modern example. Huge Japanese losses.
Or the Boers may be failing by not besieging effectively early on. The point is, avoid these costly, drawn-out struggles if you can.
Because the cost is just immense.
Yeah.
He talks about raising 100,000 men costing 1,000 ounces of silver per day.
Wow.
And if victory takes too long, men's weapons will grow dull and their ardor will be damped. Protracted wars exhaust your strength, drain the treasury.
Leading to calamity, which makes winning without fighting not just clever, but economically essential.
Exactly. Which brings us to the foundations. How do you actually do this? Sunzi lays out 5 constant factors, things a leader must consider.
Okay, what's the first?
Moral law. This means ensuring the people are totally aligned with the ruler, willing to follow them into life or death without fear.
So like unified purpose, getting buy-in from your team.
Precisely. If your own side isn't united, you're already at a disadvantage. Internal alignment first.
Makes sense. Number 2.
Heaven. Understanding the natural context. Night and day, cold and heat, the seasons.
For us today, that might mean market trends, technological shifts, the general climate you're operating in.
Exactly. Knowing the weather of your field.
Third factor.
Earth. This is about the physical or practical landscape. Distances, dangers, open ground versus narrow passes, choke points. Knowing the terrain.
Where are the opportunities? Where are the traps? Not just literal ground, but the environment you're in.
Right. Fourth is the commander. This is about leadership qualities. Wisdom, sincerity, benevolence, courage, and strictness.
The character of the leader matters. Intellect, integrity, compassion, guts, discipline.
The whole package. And finally, number 5, method and discipline.
The practical stuff.
Yeah, the nuts and bolts. How the army or your organization is structured, ranks, supply lines, controlling spending, efficient execution.
These 5, he says, every general, every leader needs to know them intimately.
And the general's role is to embody these. Sunzi gives 5 essentials for victory based on the general's actions.
Like knowing when to fight and when not to fight. Timing is everything.
And knowing how to handle different forces, superior or inferior. Adaptability.
And having an army or team with the same spirit throughout. Unified morale.
Also crucial. Being prepared yourself, then waiting to catch the enemy unprepared. Proactive readiness.
And this one's interesting. Having military capacity and not being interfered with by the sovereign, the ruler.
Yeah, that's a bold one. Basically saying, let the expert do their job. If fighting is sure to result in victory, then you must fight, even though the ruler forbid it.
If fighting will not result in victory, then you must not fight, even at the ruler's bidding. Trust the person on the ground.
It's about empowering expertise over politics or maybe even fear from above.
And it all comes back to that core mantra, maybe his most famous line.
If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles.
But if you only know yourself.
For every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. 50-50 chance.
And if you know neither.
You will succumb in every battle. Game over. It's about deep self-awareness and deep understanding of your opponent or challenge.
You know what's fascinating isn't just the big picture strategy, but the tactical ingenuity, how clever it gets on the ground.
Oh yeah, and the heart of that is deception.
All warfare is based on deception. That's the quote.
It's fundamental, not necessarily lying, but managing perceptions. Like Wellington, famous for hiding his troops, making the enemy guess.
Sunzi talks about specific methods, right? Like faking disorder.
Yeah, which, ironically, requires perfect discipline to pull off convincingly.
Or simulating fear.
Needs real courage. Or pretending to be weak.
Requires actual strength underneath. Remember Sunpin and the campfires? Classic simulated weakness.
Absolutely. Luring the enemy in. The goal is always, attack him where he is unprepared. Appear where you were not expected. Create illusions.
Flexibility is huge too. Adapting on the fly.
Definitely. According as circumstances are favorable, one should modify one's plans. He wasn't about rigid rules.
Like that Wellington anecdote before Waterloo, refusing to give his plan because it will depend upon Bonaparte's responsive strategy.
He uses that water analogy, which is brilliant.
Right.
Water shapes its course according to the nature of the ground.
The soldier works out his victory in relation to the foe whom he is facing.
So just like water has no constant shape, warfare has no constant conditions. You have to adapt. Don't be dogmatic.
The guiding principle, avoid what is strong and strike at what is weak. Find the vulnerability.
Logistics and speed also come into play. But it's smart speed, not stupid haste.
Though he does say tardiness is always foolish. Better to be quick, even a bit stupidly quick, than cleverly slow if speed means victory.
Right. Decisive action. And be resourceful. Forage on the enemy.
1 cartload of the enemy's provisions is equivalent to 20 of one's own. Makes sense. Use their stuff.
And even use their soldiers. Treat prisoners well. Incorporate them. Augment your own strength. Very pragmatic.
But he warns about pushing too hard, too fast, those forced marches.
Yeah, the math is brutal. March 100 lines, about 30 miles, trying to gain an advantage, and you might lose 90% of your army before you even get there.
50 lie, you lose half. 30 line, maybe a third.
It's a stark reminder. Respect your limits. Respect your supply lines. An army without its baggage train is lost, and you need local guides. Know the terrain.
It's about realism, not just wishful thinking about speed.
And underpinning all of this, discipline and morale. But it's a balance.
How so?
He says, soldiers must be treated in the first instance with humanity, but kept under control by means of iron discipline.
So kindness first, then strictness.
Kind of. If you punish them before they feel attached to you, they're useless, resentful. But if they are attached, and you don't enforce discipline, they're also useless, just slackers.
What does that imply for leadership today, maybe in business or anywhere?
Build trust and loyalty first, the humanity part. But then you absolutely have to enforce standards, the iron discipline. One without the other doesn't work.
Compassion needs boundaries. Boundaries need compassion.
Exactly. And you need clear communication to unify everyone. Gongs, drums, flags.
Those were the tools back then. Ways to focus everyone's attention, make a huge army act like one person.
It's about shared signals, unified action.
Okay, so we know what makes a good general, but they also need to understand the environment, the terrain, and avoid their own pitfalls.
Right. Sunzi talks about 9 varieties of ground. Different types of terrain demand different tactics.
Like dispersive ground, near home, where soldiers might just scatter.
Yeah, comfort breeds complacency. Or desperate ground, no escape route. There you have to fight with everything you've got. It forces intensity.
He also gives practical advice, like preferring high ground, sunny places. Good for health, good for observation.
It's about choosing positions that support you, physically and strategically.
So how do you use all this to figure out what the enemy is up to? What signs should you look for?
Sunzi was a master observer. He gives a whole checklist almost. Ways to read the battlefield, discern enemy intentions or morale.
Like watching the dust?
Yeah. High, sharp columns mean chariots are coming. Low and wide. Infantry. Dust branching out. They're gathering firewood. Small, moving clouds of dust. They're setting up camp.
What about nature?
Birds suddenly rising means an ambush below. Startled beasts. An attack is imminent. It's about reading subtle environmental cues.
And spotting deception.
Look for contradictions. If the enemy stays back but tries to provoke you, they probably want you to advance into their trap.
An easily accessible camp could be bait.
Humble words, but they're increasing preparations. They're about to advance, trying to lull you. Look past the surface.
He was also a psychologist, reading enemy morale.
Absolutely. Soldiers leaning on their spears, hungry, faint, rushing to drink water first, thirsty, not chasing you when they have an advantage, exhausted.
Birds gathering somewhere, probably unoccupied, clamor at night, nerves.
Camp disturbances, weak leadership, shifting flags, sedition brewing, officers getting angry, their men are weary.
Feeding horses grain, killing their cattle, they're out of supplies, desperate. Whispering in small groups, disaffection, low morale.
Even rewards and punishments tell a story. Too many rewards, they're desperate, running out of options. Too many punishments, discipline's collapsing, dire straits.
It's incredibly detailed, like a field guide to reading your opponent.
And he warns generals about their own faults, too. 6 calamities like flight, collapse, rout. He says these come from the general's mistakes, not fate.
And he lists 5 specific dangerous faults that can ruin a leader.
Number 1, recklessness. Just charging in without thinking. Bravery without forethought, like a mad bull.
Impulsive. Bad. 2nd,
Cowardice. Being unwilling to take necessary risks because you're too focused on saving your own skin, bent on returning alive.
3rd,
Hasty temper. Getting easily provoked by insults. Letting emotion drive decisions.
4th is tricky. Delicacy of honor. Being too sensitive to reputation, slander, public opinion.
Right. He suggests a leader focused on glory needs to be somewhat careless of what people say, to stay focused on the actual goal. Don't get distracted by noise.
And the 5th one is really counterintuitive. Over-solicitude for his men.
Yeah, that one makes you pause, doesn't it? What stands out to you about that?
Well, it sounds like a good thing, caring for your troops, but he sees it as a dangerous fault.
Because, he argues, if you prioritize their immediate comfort over necessary military action, you might actually cause them more suffering in the long run by losing.
So it's about making the tough calls for the greater long-term good, even if it's hard or unpopular now.
Exactly. Short-term comfort versus strategic necessity. He'd apparently see a general praised only for being so good to his men as potentially ineffective.
Wow. Okay, one last crucial area, the underworld of war. Spies.
Absolutely critical in Sunzi's system. He comes back to the cost of war again, the drain on resources, 700,000 families impeded in their work.
And says neglecting spies because of the cost or trouble is basically a crime against humanity.
Why? Because it prolongs the conflict,
Yeah.
leads to more suffering. Foreknowledge is everything.
What enables the wise sovereign and the good general to strike and conquer is foreknowledge.
And that foreknowledge doesn't come from spirits or guesswork. It comes from people, from spies,
He breaks them down into 5 types.
a whole system. First, local spies, people from the enemy's area. They know the ground.
Inward spies, enemy officials you've turned. High-level intel.
Converted spies, enemy spies you've captured and flipped, using their own network against them.
Doomed spies. These are our own spies given false information to deliberately feed the enemy. They're sacrificed. Grim.
Very grim, but part of the deception. And finally, surviving spies, the ones who actually make it back with reliable intelligence.
Managing this network requires a deft touch, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Benevolence and straightforwardness to recruit them. Subtle ingenuity of mind to sift through their reports, figure out what's true.
And strictness. He says if a spy leaks info too early, both the spy and the person they told must be put to death.
The stakes are incredibly high. Secrecy is paramount.
So the bottom line on spies.
They are a most important element in war, because on them depends an army's ability to move. You need the best intelligence you can get, using your sharpest minds for spying to achieve great results.
It's a stark reminder. Information is power. Knowing what the other side is doing or planning, that's the ultimate advantage.
Couldn't put it better myself.
So we've covered a lot. From Sunzi's maybe real, maybe legendary origins, that intense concubine drill,
To the deep philosophy of winning without fighting, the harsh realities of cost.
the crucial roles of deception, flexibility, knowing the terrain, reading people.
And finally, that vital hidden world of espionage. It's this amazing blend of, ruthless pragmatism and real philosophical depth.
Definitely. Sun Tzu is writing about ancient warfare, obviously. But these principles, they just keep echoing, don't they?
They really do. They seem to apply in so many other areas.
So, here's a final thought for you, the listener. We live in this age of information overload, complex jobs, complex relationships. How could Sun Tzu's core idea, know the enemy and know yourself, help you navigate your career, or manage a team, or even just, personal growth?
And how could you achieve that supreme excellence, breaking resistance without fighting in your own life? What does that look like? And what might deception, used ethically, of course, mean in modern strategy, whether it's business or negotiation?
Lots to think about. The wisdom of the ancients still giving us surprising facts and deep insights for today's world.